Okay, so I'm back. Thank you very much for anybody who was there earlier for the earlier conversation that I had to cut short. I'm back now and I'm hoping that you guys can see my screen. If you are there, if you could let me know if you can see it, I hopefully have it right. The photo is on my camera too, so maybe you're getting a double bubble. I'm just not really sure. Anyway, the purpose of tonight's live was to try and explain what I mean when I'm talking about using photos to plan your planting. I think that we're more conditioned to looking at photos than we are using our own eyes at this stage. I think between the screens and TVs and phones and everything, that we're just so used to it that we're much better at being objective about an image than we are with what we're seeing with our own two eyes. So I had planned to do this outside in front of this flower bed, or it's not really, whatever you want to call it, bed, outside my office. But it's lashing rain here, so I took the photo when I thought it looked like it might start raining. So this is what's actually outside my door tonight. And as you can see, it's not a whole load to look at the minute. Um, and I wanted to explain what the problems are with this. So when I'm planning a new bed like that, that one is in less than a year. So when I'm planning a new bed like that, the kinds of things I'd be looking at is for the size of the space that it is. I'd be thinking about the colour schemes I might try and go for. As you all know, I'm not. I have the best of intentions around colours, but then end up just putting all the colours there. And I'm thinking about the heights and the year-round colour of it. So today there isn't, I suppose, time to talk about all of those, but what I will talk about is year-round colour because I've missed a trick at this time of year in this particular spot. So I had been thinking about year-round colour when I was planning it out and planting what you can see there at the minute. I had been thinking about it, um, but the funny thing is, I think I missed the easiest time of the year to get colour into this bed because this is, July and August is when there's any amount of colour. Like, I mean, anyone can have colour in a garden this time of year, and I don't in this bed. And I think it's because I was thinking of all the other times in the year when it's harder to have colour, and I have that fairly well organised. So, not very long ago, this bed was a riot of beautiful purple lupins. Um, and you can still see the remains then kind of in behind the pole or the post that's holding up the tree, but they've died back, and I did cut them back with the hope that they'd come on with a second flowering, but I don't think that's going to happen. um, it's not looking good. I was checking them out, there's a couple of straggly little buds, but it doesn't look like I'm going to have a load of them. So that didn't work out. What I have behind them, which you can see the kind of taller plants just at the darker brown fence, those are hollyhocks and they're very tall. They will be very tall. I've grown them from seed, so they're just starting to come through now. And I will have colour from the next couple of weeks for a month or so from those. And in front, or kind of around the base of the tree and kind of dotted around, you can see those spiky leaves sticking up that are low to the ground. They're gladioli, which I planted in one of the first lives, and they will give me colour later on in the end of August and September, so that's covered. The little bronzy browny small shrub low to the ground there is one that stays that colour all year, so I've that kept to the front because it is offset by the colours behind it and it's kind of quite nice. And for evergreen colour, I have a number of heucheras, which are kind of the pinky ones, pinky flowers. They're not the ones right in the bottom right hand corner, the ones to the left of those. And they look lovely at other times of the year, but they got badly scorched with that one sunny day. So we'll have to wait another while for them to come through. So the tree itself is a crabapple tree, and crabapple trees are really good for year-round interest because they flower very early. Like for a lot of trees, the trees can be slow enough to come into leaf, but the crabapple tree has flowers and leaves early, and then you get the little apples, which if you can zoom in on that, I don't know if you guys can zoom in on that image that's on the screen now, but if you zoom in on that, you'll see that the little apples have started to form, and that those ones should turn red and look like red berries all over the winter. So I have a load of daffodils in there as well for the spring. So I have the spring well taken care of. I have something for winter interest in it. I have tall things for later on in the year. I have my lupins for the early summer. There's actually a little bay of Michaelmas daisies that'll come in September as well in there. I have Aquilegia that kind of fill the gap after the daffodils have gone. So there's something for everything except now. So what I'm doing at the minute is I'm thinking about what do I have in the garden that I could put in there now. I have popped in, I bought a lynchness plant there when I was in Belvedere the other week, and I've that popped in, but I actually don't like it in there. It's a gorgeous plant, lovely silvery tall stems there in the middle of the picture, but it just doesn't look right, so I leave it there for now and I'll move it later on in the season. So I'm trying to think, what can I put in that bed now for next year, because like this year has come and gone. You can't really inject colour into it now, and in another couple of weeks it'll have colour anyway because I have planted well. So I'm looking around my garden, and I have a rudbeckia, which is a lovely yellow daisy that would give a colour this time of the year. I have a verbena, a lovely purple verbena, which I actually have stuck a few of them in amongst the lupins for next year, because I definitely think they'll take the bare look off it next year, and I have loads of it. And other things that are looking lovely at this time of year are I could put in some of my astilbes, which you'll have seen in the garden with the pergola in it. But I just don't think the colour looks right with the colour of the shed, or the office, excuse me. So I'll have to think about that a bit further. I'm thinking my rudbeckias actually be lovely, and yellow goes well with the kind of yellowy orange that's on the office, because you're trying to think of that too, like those pinks don't work that I have there already, so I'll probably take them out next year. But I'm going to, my yellows that look nice. The only thing that's kind of preventing me from putting in the rudbeckias is that I'm thinking that I have a ton of it in the rest of the garden, and I'll just get sick looking at it. So basically that is what I'm thinking at the minute, and that's how I'd be planning and using my photos. That's how I'd be thinking of what am I going to do next, how can I fill in the gaps. It's for a bed that isn't there a full year, it's fairly well full, and my Livingstone daisies that are there at the front, they're at the bottom right hand corner of that picture, they are actually quite nice up there. So I thought I had posted earlier on in the year that I thought they were a garden boo-boo, but in fairness they've kind of grown on me a lot. So they're grown from seed, and nearly everything in that bed, the lupins I grew from seed, the hollyhocks I grew from seed, the Livingstone daisies, the Aquilegia, I'm looking at pretty much the Michaelmas daisies were divided from other ones elsewhere in the garden. Nearly everything in that bed was either grown from seed or divided from another plant, so there was very little expense bar the tree in that bed. So anyway, if anyone has any other ideas of something that's looking nice in their garden, I'm thinking basically yellows or purples, because of the colour of the office is dominating that bed. So yellows, if anyone has any suggestions for anything that's looking fabulous in their garden at the minute that's yellow or purple, I'd be all ears. And I hope that some of this is giving you ideas of how you can use photos yourselves to look at parts of your garden with a cold eye and see where you could make changes that'll make it better for next year. And thanks for bearing with me for my technical problems. I hope this has worked. And have a great weekend. It's a long weekend here in Ireland, so I hope you all have a fab weekend. Take care. Bye.